I might actually start with Bring Her Back, which I watched today, like 3 hours ago. It's a horror movie on Netflix, or sorry, on it's not anywhere yet. I had to rent it. I think you asked before we started recording. I think it was in theaters. I'm not sure. But if you look up the ratings, IMDb, I think it's like a 7.2 there. It's 89% from the critics, 70 something from the audience. This is one of the best horror films I've seen at least this year. I thought it was really good. It stars basically nobody. Like I don't recognize any of the actors in it.
Wait,
Uh,
Sally Hawkins, is this the one?
yeah,
2000. Yes, Sally Hawkins is a big name.
is she? What was she been in? Like I recognize her, but
The
I
Shape
didn't.
of Water, Paddington.
Oh, she was the main
She's the
person in
main
Shape of
character.
Water.
Yep,
Okay,
yep.
okay, okay.
Mm-hmm. She's a
Um,
British actress.
yeah, everybody's British in this. It's so they even drive on the wrong side of the road. Actually, the boy that's the main character, or one of the main characters, is also in a show called uh, Invasion on Apple TV Plus, which I started watching. I think it's into its third season now, but I'm only on the first season of that. But I recognized him and I couldn't figure it out, and that's what it's from. But he's good. Like everybody's great in this, even though like I haven't heard of him. The story starts off. There's this girl. She's at a bus stop, and there's some girls behind her, some other like teenage girls behind her talking, having a good time laughing, and she's kind of, not part of their reindeer games, right? Like she's, outside and she turns around and she starts talking to him, and you see her talking, and she's got a weird eye, like one of her eyes is just kind of moving all over the place. And she talks to them, and they're kind of like weird about her talking to them, like they think she's weird. Um, and they're just kind of rude to her. Then they get on this bus and they take off, and her brother comes over, and you instantly know that like he's the protective brother. He's actually a half brother, but she grabs her, he grabs her, and they walk off. And as they start to walk off, she pulls out a cane, and you realize that she's blind. And the actress is actually blind. That's why like she's not faking this eye movement thing at all. Like this is actually a
A
real condition
condition
that
she
she
has.
has. Yeah,
Hmm.
and the condition is I think I read, I forget what it is, but it's relatively rare.
Hmm.
And so um, but besides having this condition and having it fit the character that they've written for her, she plays this part really well too. But anyways, the brother is walking the sister away, and she asks him, she's like, "Oh, she's like, did they like me or did they not like me or something like that?" And
Sure.
he basically lies, and he's like, "Yeah, they know they liked you." So he's obviously protecting his little sister. And so they
Sure.
go home, and throughout the evening they're hanging out. They knock on the bathroom door where their dad is supposed to be. They knock on the door. He doesn't answer. Eventually, they open the door and find out their dad has passed away in the shower. So it's the sort of traumatic opening scene. Um, and so they end up needing to go to the foster system. He's 17. She's younger. I don't think they really say. She's probably around 13 or 14.
Hmm.
She's not old enough to drive. And so initially, when they go into this foster office, they're told they're going to be split up. And they're already, it turns out, only half brother and half sister, which you can kind of tell. He's very
Hmm.
white American, right? Blonde, or not American, but white kid, blonde hair. Probably, I think he has blue eyes. Like, definitely very white kid. And she is very clearly Asian or half Asian, right? Like, well,
Okay.
obviously half Asian because they're half brother, and their dad is white. Um,
Hmm.
but they, it, the brother manages, he says, "Oh, I was going to try and just take her. I was just going to try and take care of her." And they're like, "Well, you have to be 18, so that's 3 months away. So she's
Right.
got to go into foster for 3 years." and they have somewhere to place her, but the lady generally doesn't like to take kids with a problematic past, and they don't get into what the brother's problematic past is other than that he has one. And he
Is he the
says
protagonist, this boy?
the boy and the girl, so they both are.
Brother, sister. Okay.
Yeah, and so he manages to talk them into letting him go. So they go meet this woman played by what's her name?
Sally Hawkins.
Yeah, Sally Hawkins. Um, and she's weird. Like she's a little odd. We come to find out that she had a blind daughter that passed away. And so she's now fostering these two. And there's another kid there named Ollie who is just weird. Like the kid is just, off in some way. And he has to like
Hmm.
stay kind of locked in his room. He comes out every now and then, but he's just a little off. And so the story kind of takes off from there. And this is where we start to figure out what's going on. As the movie goes on, we realize that this woman that has lost her daughter has found these. It doesn't get into how she got them, but there's these videotapes made in Russia of somebody performing some kind of ritual. In as the film goes on, what we find out is that the gist of it is they have to stay in a certain location, and you see on their house like it's surrounded by these white rocks that
Hmm.
are keeping whatever spirits in, right there, whatever the thing is that possesses whatever. And we find out that it's possessing this kid Ollie. And this is like, okay, the budget in this movie must have not been too high because it kind of all takes place in one place.
Okay.
But whatever budget they had, they put into makeup for this kid Ollie, who is fantastic, is a creepy ass possessed
Character.
kid. Like he's weird and he's terrifying, and his face is so good at staying slack, like but getting scarier, and like his eyes kind of get more red, like 28 days later. And he just starts to break down, like his stomach starts to get bloated the longer he's possessed, and it's super weird. But what we find out from this ritual that
Hmm.
this woman has discovered is that you have to basically keep this possessed person alive long enough. And the gist of the story, too, if you watch the trailer, is the idea that just because somebody's died, their soul may stay in their body for up to a couple of months.
Mm.
Like their soul doesn't necessarily leave their body right away.
Hmm.
And so if you keep the body of the person that's passed away
Hmm.
and you have this possessed thing, this
Yeah.
possessed person, if somebody dies in the same manner, the original soul, that possessed person can transfer that original person's soul into the new body, into the body
Oh.
of the person that died. So it turns out her daughter was also blind. So her house
Hmm.
was all set up for this. Everything is set up for, as the movie goes on, for this newly blind girl to
Come back.
die in the same way so that her daughter can then possess her body.
You mean his body, correct?
No, her body. So she had a daughter that was blind
Right.
and died. She fell in a pool in their backyard and died.
Hmm.
So they were she Sally Hawkins' character Laura, I think her name is, takes these two kids in, knowing that the new girl is blind. If the new blind girl who's
Wait, so the sister is blind, just to clarify.
yes,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
So the brother and sister, but the sister happens to be blind, you're saying.
yeah. And so if the sister
Understood.
dies in the same way and the possessed person is still there, it can transfer the daughter's body into the sister.
Hmm. Okay.
And so the whole movie goes on, and Sally Hawkins character Laura she is kind of tricking the boy into doing things that will make him look bad, so he potentially can't ever take the daughter, right? Because they're going to evaluate him
Oh,
after 3 months and say, hey, she watched you do X, Y, and Z. If
right.
you were good enough to take her at 18, then you can. Otherwise, she might have to stay. Um, so
Hmm.
like one night she gets everybody drunk, and when the kids passed out, she pours her own urine on him to make it seem like he wet his pants. Like and like she does all this stuff that's super crazy, and it sounds it sounds almost like it could be over the top or cheesy.
Yeah.
But everything in this movie works. Like this movie is super creepy. It's super tense the entire time. Like I said, the acting is great because the set is so tight, right? Like almost all of it takes place in this woman Laura's house.
Hmm.
So almost all of it is there. And and so the budget really, like I said, is kind of all spent on this kid Ollie, who is we don't know who he is or why he's there, other than the woman Laura has him there to house this spirit, whatever it is, to finish the ritual she's trying to do. And that kid just continuously gets weirder and weirder and weirder,
Hmm.
and like destructive and but like I said, he starts to get like more bloated, and his body kind of starts to look, skin starts to just look a little gray and unhealthy, and his eyes get
Hmm.
more red. And the kid does an amazing job being this, terrifyingly possessed thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so like I do not want to ruin the end of it. I think the only for me, I think the ending could have been a little different. Like there is another ending that I probably would have liked better.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this ending still worked. It wasn't a bad ending. I just think there's another ending that I think would have pushed it a little further
Sure.
into a, maybe a better horror movie. But overall, like this really was one of the best horror movies I've seen in a long time. I would argue that it's maybe a better horror movie than Weapons, even though I loved Weapons. I thought Weapons was a great movie.
Hmm.
In a lot of places, Weapons was, I don't know if I'd say it was funnier, but it definitely had a lighter tone in some places.
Hmm.
This one does not. Like this movie never lets up from the beginning. It's tense, and you're
Freaky.
trying to figure, yeah, and and it's a possession story, right? So like, I think this movie would definitely get somebody like Andrew, who
Right.
does not, doesn't jive with that stuff. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I think this would freak him out a little bit in the best ways. I think it's really it's
Hmm.
a good horror movie. And so for me, like I said, it's one of the better ones I've seen in a while. I'm trying to think. This is actually, I think it's directed by the same people that directed the movie Talk to Me, which is the
That's what
one.
it said on
Yeah,
yeah, when I Googled it. Yep.
yeah.
Hmm.
And Talk to Me was really good. That one was about there's basically like this hand, and you can make wishes on it, and it'll possess you, and all kinds of crazy stuff. But that one's really good too. And I think they're doing a good job, these directors, setting up a tone for the things that they're making.
Looks like they're brothers.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Yep.
And
Danny, they're Australian horror director. Yeah.
but yeah, I think if you like horror, I think on Apple TV, it was only $6 to rent. It's $20
Mm.
to buy, but $6 to rent, and it's absolutely worth renting if you like horror. I think like I said, fantastic, really like haunting, and like it sticks with you afterwards. Like that's why I wanted to talk about it first, because I think the feeling of it was still with me, which is for me the sign of a good horror movie. I don't really get scared by horror movies, but it was a little dark and heavy. Like afterwards, I had to put on Superstore for a while and laugh and have a
Right.
good time. But um, it was good. So if you like horror and you got $6 to throw around, I would say
Yeah.
do it. I'm sure it's coming to streaming pretty soon. So if you
Hmm.
don't want to spend the $6, you can probably wait and it'll end up on HBO. It would be my guess, or maybe Netflix. But yeah, if this is the season, right? We're getting into the horror movie season now, so I was excited to put this one on and,
Yeah.
and really kind of kick that off for myself. And I was glad I did. I forget what I looked up, but there's a list of horror movies, and this one was on there. And they were right. It was definitely worth a watch. So
Yeah. I Not to interrupt, but I just thought this was fascinating. These two are twin brothers.
Oh, cool.
from Australia. Yeah, and they really were just intrigued by the horror genre. And I guess their first film together was Talk to Me, and now they've made this new one, Bring Her Back.
Yeah, I after seeing this movie, and I did see Talk to Me, I'm really excited to see what they do next. I think both of these movies are excellent.
Hmm.
This is better than Talk to Me. So if you've seen Talk to Me and liked it, I do think this one is better. And I think the
Hmm.
young actors, sky's the limit for them. I think they did a great job, and I think they'll continue to be better. I think, obviously the blind girl, her path is a little more narrow, right? Because she's legitimately blind. And she explains her character's blindness, which I assume is her same. She's actually pretty agile, even in the movie, is that she can see like light and shapes. She can make things
Okay.
out, but she still can't like see clearly. And there's like no glasses or anything would help her.
Hmm.
But you can see her moving around the house pretty quickly, especially near the end of the movie. And like in the scene in the beginning when the dad when they're trying to get into the bathroom to find the dad, she very quickly runs down the hall, goes into the kitchen, finds her, and
Hmm.
this is obviously her home, but finds the silverware drawer, pulls out a table knife, a bread knife, so that they can wedge it into the door and open the door. Um,
Mm.
but she knows where everything is. She can move around quickly without bumping into things.
Sure.
Um, but I mean, she was really good, and the kid that played her brother was really good. Um, in the little bit of Invasion that I've watched, he's good in that, and I think he is still in it come the third season. So I'm excited to kind of see because I see him from last year, basically. I think is when this movie was filmed.
Yeah.
Um, and Invasion season one was like 2 or 3 years ago. So I'm kind of excited to go back to Invasion and kind of watch him grow into the actor that he is in this and see where he's got to go from there. But
Hmm.
otherwise, the kid that plays Ollie, I mean, he nails the whole like creepy possessed thing like incredibly well. Like I feel like adult actors struggle to make this feel real, and he did a fantastic job. Like
Hmm.
he's somehow well, he's definitely like scary and creepy, but he's also like you feel for him too because there's a scene where you find out kind of who he is a little bit and why he's the way that he is, and it's obviously not a choice that he's made.
For
And
sure.
so you feel for this kid too as things get worse and worse for him.
Do you
Um,
find out his like backstory, how he ended up there?
a little bit. Like they
Okay.
don't dive way into it, but enough is given to it that you care, that you're interested in it. So
Right.
I think it's really great in that regard. So yeah, definitely give this a watch and find it. And like I said, if $6 is too much, or if you just don't, you want to wait, I'm sure, especially with this, we're basically into October almost already. It'll be streaming somewhere, I think, by next month. So uh,
For sure.
catch it there. So all right, that's that. So we can move on. You want to talk about, I don't know, pick one of yours, and we'll go from there.
Gordon, Kevin, and I was seeing what was new since I hadn't been subscribed since, well, it's been like a month or two since I was using Netflix because I will go through subscriptions and I try to um, alternate so I'm not paying for everything at once if I know I'm not gonna have the time.
Hmm.
So this came up and it's called Too Much. It's a, I don't know, 8, 9 episode, season series that was written by Lena Dunham, and it stars Megan Stalter, who is a comedian in her early mid 30s who got her start on Hacks. Apparently, she plays Jean Smart's assistant
Hmm.
in the show. I wasn't familiar with her. And her character is named Jessica, and it starts in New York City, in Brooklyn specifically, where you meet Jessica, who is a little overweight, and she was in a 7-year relationship with a guy named Zev, who's played by Michael Egan, who you may know from The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, or also he had like a very short role in just the first episode, really, in The Penguin.
Mm-hmm.
And in the first episode, she breaks in like late at night while she's drunk into, I guess, their former apartment, now his apartment, the apartment that they once shared. And she breaks into the house, freaks out. He's in bed with the new girlfriend, Wendy Jones, who is played by Emily Ratajkowski, who's gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
And she just has like a drunken freak out on him. And then she goes home the next day and she's just super depressed. And she's with her sister, who's played by Lena Dunham, Nora, and then the mom, played by Rita Wilson, and then the grandmother, played by Rhea Perlman. So they're all in their home together. And at this point, Jessica's like, I'm so broken by this whole breakup. I need to leave. I need a new change of scenery. So she ends up getting a job and going to England and moving to London. And she works in some sort of like, I guess, does like commercials and marketing. It reminded me a little bit like similar type of stuff to, if you've seen Emily in Paris, sort of like what Emily's doing to some extent in terms of just getting celebrities involved and doing like, I guess, more of like the marketing, the commercials, things of that nature for this boutique agency. So she moves there and she has a dog who has no hair, so like a hairless dog who I think it's a chihuahua. It looks like a hairless chihuahua, and she brings the dog with her. And she doesn't really know anyone out there. I don't think she knows anybody. And she settles into her new flat. And the first night she goes out to a pub somewhere in London, and she sits down, has a drink, and starts watching this band play at this like very low-key bar. And the frontline singer, his name is Felix, and he's played by Will Sharp, who, if you've watched and seen White Lotus, he's in season 2. He plays the husband of Aubrey Plaza's character. He's also in a film which I saw last year called A Real Pain, which was with Kieran Culkin and Jesse Eisenberg.
Mm-hmm.
He plays the tour guide, and he's this like, I don't know. Initially, when I saw it, I was like, this guy's got like very emo type of eyes. He's got his nails painted, some tattoos. He's definitely more of like a creative, emotional feeler type of guy. And they meet in the bathroom after he's singing, and she's like, this guy's really hot, and he's pretty taken by her initially. And he's like, wow, nice to meet you, etc. So she watches him at the bar, and then after, I guess, they finish their set and the bar closes down, she's outside and he's outside, I think, like lighting a cigarette, and they start talking. And they end up spending the night hanging out, and he walks her back. She doesn't know how to get back to her place. She's not familiar, first time in England. And he helps her find her place. And then she meets the dog. And it's definitely funny because I don't know if initially he is attracted to her, or he's just, I think, just very fond of like how honest she is, and very different than what he's used to romantically. And they go back to her place, and he actually leaves at a certain point, like when she's like down hook up. And then, oh, mind you, during all this, she's like recording herself through a TikTok or Instagram, one of those social media platforms, doing videos, more so to get back at her ex. And specifically, she just has this major disdain for Wendy Jones, played by Emily Ratajkowski, who's now dating her ex as of a few months ago. So it's more of like, I'm getting back at you type of thing. This is how I feel, etc. So after Felix leaves the apartment, she ends up having a candle, and she is so clumsy. It reminds me a little bit of Bridget Jones, but this woman's American. She lights herself on fire and ends up sending herself to the hospital, which is kind of funny. And it's very dramatic. And Felix comes back maybe like 30 minutes to an hour later, as she's like being taken away to the hospital, she's like, "You came back?" He's like, "Yeah, I came back. I don't know why. I just felt like I had to come back." And before like this all even happened, she kissed him, and I think he was a little confused, wasn't ready for it, whatever, and he leaves. So she's like, "Well, I fucked that up, you know." But after the hospital experience, he just enjoys being around her, and you come to see how their relationship develops over time and how she settles into her new job, or at least the job at this agency in England. So a lot of it's very funny. I mean, it goes back to her overthinking things based on, I mean, we all, I think, after a certain point, if we've been in a bad relationship, we have certain trauma. And I think for her, it's letting go of that trauma. And him, you come to find he has some issues from his upbringing. He has substance abuse issues that he's working through. So together, they end up being a really great pair. And, you go through the motions when you're in a new relationship and learning things. And it's pretty funny. There are definitely a lot of scenes that are very Bridget Jones-esque, which I appreciated, just like awkwardness in general. Lena Dunham, I think, has a certain way of writing, and that definitely comes out here in this show. I didn't love it. I thought it was cute at some points. But there were certain scenes where I'm like, I feel like a guy after like she'll have these blow ups or just I think moments of insecurity where it's taken like way too far, where I think most men would be like, peace, I'm out. I don't want to deal with this. Whereas he just keeps on coming back. And even I think her too, like there's some things that he does, like he ends up hooking up with another woman when he gets drunk one night and ends up being like, it's funny, she's like in her 60s or 70s, like older woman, not attractive. And it's like, I feel like most women, well, I can't speak for most women, so I shouldn't say that, but if it happened to me, I'd be like, bye, I don't want to see you again. That's it. But I think, I mean, in this case, she's like, she takes him back. So yeah, it's definitely some of it's a bit unbelievable, but yeah, I think it's a perfect example of people working through their past relationship trauma to meet the right person, develop the communication style that you need in order to be in a successful relationship. So, and while this is all happening, Wendy Jones is getting engaged to her ex-boyfriend, played by Michael Zegan, and the character's name is Zev. So she's like hysterical as soon as she gets to England. She's like, they've only been together a few months and he's already proposing. We were together for 7 years. And, it ends up working its way out and she meets face to face with Wendy Jones for the first time in I guess almost a year or a number of months when that first encounter happened where she breaks into the home of her ex-boyfriend, sees them together, has a freak out, knew that, she met her out one night, I guess they were at the same party. So she has this really great disdain for this woman, and then she comes to find they're more alike than you would think. And this person, played by Emily Ratajkowski, realizes that this guy's really a jerk, and she is able to get herself out of that relationship with her former ex-boyfriend too. So it's more of like a common understanding, as in we're more alike than you think. And I think it definitely closes the chapter on a high note, knowing that, if you have a bad experience with the guy and if he didn't treat you well, there's a great chance he's going to do the same thing to the next woman.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But overall, it was okay. I I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. There's definitely some funny scenes, like when she lights herself on fire accidentally, and she does the tuck and roll, and she ends up, yeah, it's kind of ridiculous, but I think it's like one of those dream-esque type of love stories. I mean, women love men with accents and men that, yeah, there's a certain appeal, and moving to a foreign country, especially England, where you already speak the language and fall for a guy who's really attractive, who comes from a different culture. I think there's a certain appeal to that.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's having just yeah, that little bit of difference makes a little mystery, right?
Sure. And as
Yeah.
someone who has dated someone from the UK, I can speak to that as well. There's definitely appeal. But for sure. It was good. I even just like them walking through London and just because I studied abroad between my bachelor's and my master's in the UK, and then I when I was dating my ex, I went to the UK for the holidays, so that definitely was something that I was able to resonate with. But yeah, I think it's not too bad. I think like most of the episodes were like a 6, low 7.
Yeah, she's really funny. She's one of the like pure comedy parts of Hacks.
Okay.
Like Jean Smart's great and funny enough, she's a comedian, but she definitely brings a lot of drama to the show.
Okay.
And even the girl that plays um her she's actually the assistant. The girl from Too Much is actually the assistant of her agent.
Oh,
But
okay.
the girl that comes in to play her assistant is, again, an up and coming comedy writer trying to get her career going. She's funny, but she's also dramatic.
Hmm.
Whereas this girl, Megan Stalter, is just funny. Like she is hilarious in Hacks.
Yeah.
Like every time she's on scene, you know she's going to do something funny. I mean, sometimes she's a little doofy or whatever, but she's always funny. And so I can see like her being really, really fun to watch. I mean, if you know, what did you watch the entire thing? Did you finish it?
Yeah, I did finish it.
What would you give the entire season out of 10?
A 6.
Well, I mean
Maybe,
that's where it's sitting right
maybe,
now, yeah.
maybe a 5. It wasn't great. Some of it was a little ridiculous, Kevin. It
Hmm.
was cute,
Yeah.
like to start. I think I liked it, but as it went episode by episode, it sort of fell a little bit for me. I don't know, because I think the appeal in like from the previews, I'm like, oh, this is cute. This is a girl who's down on her luck, leaves, similar to Emily in Paris, but
Hmm.
is a woman who's a little bit overweight, who has her own set of challenges, etc. It doesn't have like the glam of Emily in Paris with all of the outfits and
Right.
just all of the places that she goes. It doesn't have that type of, wow, I want to be there with Emily and do go to all of these marketing events and stuff. And everyone's almost like on red carpet ready in every scene. Whereas this is more just, I'm going to my job, going to the pub. I meet this guy who's, living
I,
on people's couches or like has like 4 or 5 roommates. It's not as glamorous. It's just not.
yeah.
But it's funny. It's funny and it's a little ridiculous funny, but I think it's if you want a good laugh, definitely why not? But by the time it ended, I was like, okay, it is what it is. But
Yeah, and it's got a good cast. I mean, Michael Zegan, I really like.
yeah.
Um, he's great in Miss Maisel. For the few bits of screen time that he got in Penguin, he was really good. Um,
Hmm.
and Will Sharp, I think he's on his way up. Richard E. Grant is in this. Like you said, Rhea Perlman. What was the guy
Hmm.
that played the priest in
Oh yeah,
Fleabag
Andrew
in this?
Scott. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, he
He
is in this.
plays he plays a guy that works at I don't know if it's a yeah, I think he's a filmmaker. Like he comes in like midway in the season and I think is he Irish in real life or
I
maybe not.
think so.
Yeah. Yeah, he's in it. And I think he's divorced or recently separated and he appears at I guess her job and is somehow like involved in a project with her, whatever it may be. And I guess after a drunken night, like they start to make out and stuff, and then that's kind of funny. And this is after the whole scenario happened where Will Sharp's character like sleeps with that like 60-year-old, which wasn't exactly like very glamorous. So I think she felt like, oh, I'll get back at him with this attractive guy that I work or that is at my job and whatnot. But that ends up being like very awkward and funny too. So yeah. But yeah, Andrew Scott's in it. He makes an appearance in like two or three episodes. Who else is in it? There's some other people in it. I was like, wow, I
Yeah, Stephen
forgot.
Fry, who I think you're probably familiar with. You've been seeing Kit Harington, Naomi Watts.
Oh yeah, Naomi Watts is in it. Yeah, there's some
Yeah.
like random appearances throughout the series, which is funny. I'm trying to think who else appeared. Some like random
And you get into
appearances.
the people that are in everything. Andrew Rennell's, he's been in stuff like I recognize him for sure.
I knew
Um,
him. He's like the original. He's in the Book of Mormon, but he's like one of the
mm-hmm,
original
hmm
actors in that. He plays Elder Price as the main character, but yeah, he plays the ex-husband of Lena Dunham. So Dunham is divorced or in the process of getting divorced. That's Jessica, played by Megan Stalter's older sister, and she's just like a mess. And Andrew Reynolds plays the former husband, and yeah, he's pretty funny.
Yeah. And the last name that I really recognize is Rita Wilson. She's obviously a big deal.
Oh yeah,
Um,
she is a big deal. Her and so like everyone in the US is like an American cast member, and then they have all of these British actors that get pulled in. Although Naomi Watts, she's what is she, Australian or South African? I
she's
know.
Australian, I think.
Yeah, she plays I think like a boss's wife or something like that in the UK. So yeah, they bring in a good amount of people. Oh, so her I guess her neighbor or like one of the first guys that you meet there, I recognized him, then I looked him up. His name is the actor's name is Dean Charles Chapman, and I recognized him. He was in 1917, the movie. If
Mm-hmm.
you've ever seen that, that's the Sam Mendes film that came out right before COVID, which was pretty solid. Yeah, I hadn't seen him in anything in a while.
Yeah, he's in the Acolyte, the Star Wars
Hmm.
show.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I've seen him before for sure. And he was Tommen Baratheon in Game of Thrones, so
Oh, okay.
he's been around, yeah. Uh,
Nice.
but yeah, yeah, well, it's a good cast. It's kind of a bummer that it didn't rate a little higher, but definitely like I can see where if it's silly stuff can only last you so long, and I feel like if it's gonna be that silly, maybe it would have been better as a movie. You know,
Yeah, I
like
think so.
yeah, you can deal with 90 minutes of silly stuff, but when you have to deal with 10 hours of it, you kind of well, are they half hour episodes or the hour episodes?
Half hour.
Okay, that's not so
They're
bad, but
they're short, like 30 or 40 minutes, but I mean, it did go by quickly after a while. I think after each episode, I was contemplating like I have to finish it, but I was just becoming less engaged with it over time. It's interesting because I'm looking at Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah, the audience gave it a 59%, and the critics gave it an 80%. And I can see why the critics give it an 80% because I think just Lena Dunham, I think a
hmm
lot of them really think that she's like a creative genius. I'm not saying she's not. I don't think this was my type of humor for some of it.
yeah,
Some of it was a little too far-fetched for me.
I do feel like Lena Dunham kind of appeals to a certain crowd and not to other ones.
Right.
And that's not to say she's not great. But if you have that thing where your audience is
Hmm.
a certain type of audience, then you have to kind of deal with that. So some people aren't gonna dig it because it's not for them, and that's okay. Obviously, like you said, the critics liked it, so in that regard, it's pretty good. Uh, but yeah, I never even watched Girls. Like I'm actually I know of Lena Dunham, but if you ask me anything that I've watched that she's done, I don't know that there is anything.
I just know girls. I don't really know anything else that she's done, and I've only seen maybe a small handful of episodes. I'm not, someone who's like a Lena Dunham expert in terms of her content.
Hmm
So, but I did hear her interview on this, and she said that she didn't want to have like the front and center role. I think at this point she really is focused on just crafting
hmm
really good stories and content, and have other people play who she wants to play. And I did watch Megan Stalter in an interview. I think it was either on Jimmy Fallon or maybe it was Stephen Colbert. But yeah, she's like she wants to make a statement. by what she wears, what she looks like. She reminds me a little bit like early on Amy Schumer, like she owns being someone who is plus sized and she doesn't give a fuck what other people think about her. So she'll purposely wear like tighter clothes.
Hmm.
And I think that's very respectable, honestly, at the end of the day, just knowing that this girl doesn't give a shit. She's not going to let other people define how she should dress or how she should look. She's just going to rock on and be who she is. And I think that takes a lot of ovaries to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah. All right.
So, and I think her character sticks a lot to that in the show as well. Maybe less so because you see these insecurities that stem from her initial relationship. But yeah, I think this girl is definitely like based on the interview that went on and just learning more about their character. I think there's definitely a lot of like female empowerment that's echoed here and
Sure.
body positivity.
Yeah,
That's
and I do think that's kind of Lena Dunham's bag too. Like that's
100%.
she tries to put that across kind of all the time.
Hmm. My only concern is, and I've seen this with like a lot of actresses and people. I mean, I think of the Australian actress who's in Bridesmaids. Is it Bridesmaids? Yeah, Brides. She's in a lot of stuff. She was also in there's a movie where she plays a cheerleader and then she plays Rebel Wilson. Rebel Wilson.
Oh yeah.
And I think with a lot of the times, unfortunately, like these actresses really succumb to a lot of pressure from the press and stuff, and then they lose a bunch of weight.
Hmm.
I hopefully it's for health reasons if they do that. But I mean, she's been in, I know, a number of movies, and when you're casted as the bigger woman, I think sometimes that can be a bit daunting over time
Yeah.
because you'll continuously get roles and stuff, but you'll notice that the stance will often change over the years, whether it be that's something that's directed and influenced by a doctor telling you to lose the weight. Um, the same thing actually with Megan Trainor recently. I don't know if you've seen photos of Megan Trainor. I just
Yeah.
saw her in concert last year. She looks very different now. She's had
Yeah.
work done. She's
Yeah.
lost weight, I believe, like Ozempic related. She's had her lips done. And a lot of people are critical of this weight loss, I think, just due to the fact that some of her earlier songs are about body
Yeah.
positivity.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens for Megan Stalter. I don't know if that's the road she'll go down. Not that I don't support people trying to commit to a healthier lifestyle, because I think that's super important. I just think, and this is just my own personal opinion, I hope it's never due to someone feeling like they're less than or that
Hmm.
they have to because of the press.
Yeah. 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 It is hard. I think the world isn't very forgiving right now. And there's a lot of
Agreed.
pressure out there. And if you don't, um, if you can't stand up to it, it's gonna eat you alive. So,
Yeah,
but,
this is true.
but yeah, I think, I part of me wants to watch at least some of this just for the sake of watching her act and see where because it sounds like she's probably less silly in this than she is in Hacks because she's so over the top in Hacks. Um,
Okay.
and I'm kind of curious to see, how she is in this and what that would mean for a career trajectory for her. Like, is she always going to be silly? Is there like shining moments of, she could be a more dramatic actress? Um,
Hmm.
so definitely worth looking into. Um, but
Yeah. And it was good seeing Will Sharp in this type of role too. I think he was from White Lotus, which I saw him, and he had a very little role in A
mhm.
Real Pain. But in White Lotus, he's more of someone who's like up and coming on the rise when it comes to his career. And if you recall, it's really it becomes very competitive between him and Theo James' character
Mm-hmm.
when they're on that vacation or away in Italy, where it's they're comparing one another, those two couples. And I think even just his character who's really comes from means, or sh no, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say come from means, but is in a position of means, at least at that time, where he's on the rise and is able to be successful professionally. Whereas in this role, he's a guy who's kind of broken a bit based on his substance abuse, his tough childhood, and just adolescence too, being brought up. And he works, I mean, he's in a band, so he's not someone that has a lot of means. He's living more modestly. So definitely a very different character than what he played in White Lotus, but nonetheless, like still very attractive, great body. Um, yeah, but I think he's pretty solid himself, and it's cool to hear because I don't think his character, from what I recall, I don't think his character was British in White Lotus. I think he had an American accent in that.
I think so too. Yeah.
So hearing more of his just natural accent in this show was cool. And yeah, I look forward to seeing more of him in future work. Same thing with Megan Stalter because she was very good.
Cool. All right. Cool. Well, I will move on for anybody that is curious. I'm going to talk about the show Task, which is behind me, which I thought was really great, and then later on I will talk about the movie Friendship, which is on HBO, which I absolutely hated. So I will start good and go to the bad. Um, but I think this show it's tricky because this is only the first episode, right? It's the first of I think 7 or 8 episodes, and 7 episodes, and it stars Mark Ruffalo and Tom Pelphrey, who, funny enough, I've been catching up on Ozark, and in season 3 he takes over. He comes in as the brother of Laura Linney's character, and the gist of the show really is kind of about these guys who are from two different worlds and how they're ultimately going to collide as the show goes on. We see that Mark Ruffalo's character is an FBI agent who is kind of not really interested in the job. And through the first episode, we come to find out that at some point, I don't think they get into it in this first episode yet, but at some point, his son has done something criminal. His son is in jail. And whatever it is, it's not good. Like, it's not just something, small and petty. Like, he's done something significant. And it'll be a while, I think. I don't think so. This show's by the creator of Mayor of Easttown, which was a great slow burn show starring Kate Winslet. If you haven't seen Mayor of Easttown and you've got HBO, definitely go watch it. Great show, which made this show bode well even more. And so we find out in this first episode that Mark Ruffalo's character also used to be a priest. And he's fallen off of that. As the episode goes on, we find out that he is a big time alcoholic right now. Obviously, because of the things that he's going through. His daughter still lives with him, but she knows he's a mess, and so she's kind of struggling with that. Plus, her brother obviously is now in jail. I think the wife is in the picture somewhere. But I don't remember what her part is or who plays her yet. But if she was there, she was only there for a little bit in this first episode. But he's an FBI agent going through all this stuff. And on the other side of the coin, when we first meet Tom Pelphrey's character, he's a garbage man. And he's got this buddy that's with him, and they are going, on the regular trash route. And they pull up past this house and they take the garbage and they kind of go around the corner. and they rifle through the garbage of this specific house. And what we come to find out is that they know that this house is a drug house, and so they are basically looking at the amount of garbage related to this particular drug thing that they're doing, whether I'm sure it's producing in some way, but the idea is that they see this and they know that they would have X amount of money in their house now because of where they're at in their process. So they later on that night they rob this house, and as it turns out, they've been doing this pretty regularly. They're robbing drug houses as kind of like their thing, and they ultimately Mark Ruffalo's boss, played by Martha Plimpton, who I love, she's amazing, wants him to put together a task force, and so they they bring in like three kind of young characters. None of them I really recognize. Like Amelia Jones is one of them. I've seen her before. She was in Coda.
Yep.
She's in a couple other things. Like I've seen her, but like I don't know her. I think looks like she was the main character in Lock and Key.
Hmm.
But she's been around. The more recognizable guy for me was Fabian Frankel. He's kind of a handsome British dude. He's Kristen Cole in House of the Dragon. That's where I've seen him. And that actually looks like his biggest role. Um, he's a pretty main character in that. And then this black girl that they brought in who is like, so the Amelia Jones's character is a mess. Like she's going through a divorce. She is like very obviously going through a divorce. Like she's on phone calls yelling at people all the time. Like she's a mess. And then the black girl who the actress's name I'm going to butcher probably, but it's Thuso Mbedu. And she is super calm, super level-headed. And you can just tell like she's really smart, and she's going to be obviously important. Like the gotcha here is that we meet these three characters in this first episode, but we don't really dive into them at all. This show is definitely a slow burn. The setup in this is really long.
Hmm.
They really just kind of want you to meet these characters and get to know these characters, and they do a good job in that. It's just not particularly exciting in this first episode
Hmm.
until the end. So at the end of this episode, uh, Tom Pelphrey and his two buddies decide, or we find out that it seems like they're maybe not entirely the ones picking the places they're hitting because they get a text message that says this house is next on the list. They case the house for a day. They go in and they do this. They go to hit this house and things go sideways. And for anybody that wants to watch it, I don't really want to say how it goes sideways because I think it's really interesting. And the way that the episode ends sets up some very clear, heavy drama for the rest of these 7 episodes. And you kind of really get an idea of where it's going to, how it's going to start to build. And what happens at the end of the episode, you can see is going to kind of trigger Mark Ruffalo's character to change his tone in the way these things are going.
Hmm.
And so I don't know that he'll necessarily clean up his act, but he'll become more serious about his work as the show goes on. Because he was not excited about the task force. Like he was given in the task force and he was given these three young agents that don't have much of a track record. And so for him, it kind of feels like, you know, I'm just got this thing, this low level crime spree where people are robbing from drug dealers. Like who really gives a shit, right? Like he just doesn't really care.
Yeah.
But definitely at the end of the first episode, everything changes for both sides. Things become very real for Tom Pelphrey's, little crew. And then on the flip side for Mark Ruffalo's crew, the level of what's going on has changed. Plus, there's also this like idea that Tom Pelphrey is working for somebody else, whoever that is, and maybe they're a bigger bad, or maybe they're worse than
Hmm.
what's going on there. So it's definitely going to build up. This is one of those shows. that is on HBO. So it's kind of like if you think back to The Penguin, if you sit through the credits, HBO is really great about giving you number one a preview for the next episode. In this case,
Yep.
you'll get kind of a preview for the season because it's the first episode. But then it also does like a quick like 5 minute, 6 minute interview with people involved in the show, so you get some ideas of what's going on behind the scenes of the show. So they interview Ruffalo, they interview Tom Pelton, or sorry, Tom Pelfrey, and I think they interview all three of the agents, and you can just um, really get a feel for where it's going. I think, like I said, it was a little slow in the beginning, so I was watching it and I was like, I don't know if it's gonna, if I'm really gonna get into this or not. Like I expect to like it because of all of the kind of credentials behind it. But then, by the end, I'm like, okay, I see why this is rated the way it is. It's an eight. The episode was an eight something. The series so far has been given a 7.5 on IMDb. Um, on Rotten Tomatoes, I looked it up and I've already forgotten. Let me look real quick. Um, yeah, 89% from the critics, but 70% from the audience. And I think being that the audience has really only had access to the first episode so far, probably some of that has to do with the fact that this was a setup episode. You're meeting all
Hmm.
these characters. Um, they do a good job of making Tom Pelfrey's character relatively likable. Like he's in a bad situation. His brother has passed away, so he's kind of taking care of his brother's kids who are older. His niece is 21, I think. And so, I mean, she's taking care of her younger siblings. Um, but, it kind of comes up in the episode. She actually owns the house because it belonged to her dad. So now she owns the house. So she doesn't necessarily need Tom Pelfrey's character there. He's less of a screw up than, say, his character is in Ozark. Um, but he's trying to do these things for his family, and there's a lot of scenes of him
Hmm.
actually having fun with his friends and his family members, and not just a criminal. Like he's a guy, like he's a normal person, a family man, that is, you know you can tell as the show goes on is going to become put in increasingly bad situations. And maybe even though he's kind of the ringleader of what we've seen so far,
Hmm.
he may not be smart enough to get himself out of some of this stuff. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see how it goes down. And yeah, I'm really excited for the next episode, which will come out for us tomorrow. Um, and really see this thing go. It's only 7 weeks long. Um, but yeah, it should be really good.
Nice.
So give it a watch if you got HBO, because it's worth it. I think for me, at least so far, I don't remember how the first episode of Mayor of Easttown went. Like I don't remember if it was also a slow burn, but just from my memory of Mayor of Easttown overall, and in this show, I think I liked Mayor of Easttown a little better. But definitely both shows have very real feeling characters that are all probably a little damaged and a little, I think, more relatable in that way because you're not looking at anybody that's too perfect or too bad, right? Like they're kind of in the
Hmm.
middle and they're just in these situations that they're put in. But yeah, this one's a good one. If you start watching this and you get through the first now, by the time this episode drops, the first two episodes, and you're looking for something to kind of scratch that itch, go back and watch Mayor of Easttown, and catch both of those because also very, very good. So
And are they releasing one episode at a time, or how is
yes,
this?
yeah,
Okay.
It's HBO, so it'll be once a week,
Okay. For the
through,
next
yeah,
go.
probably looks like through the end of October would be my guess if I'm just really
Okay.
quickly doing the math in my head. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, yeah, really, really solid so far, and lots of potential. And like I said, sit through the slow bits of this first episode. I want to say it was almost in exactly an hour long, like right around there. Um, but
Hmm.
take it for the character building, and then the end of the episode, you'll really see how things are going to get kind of crazy after, after it gets going. I don't think that, thinking about Mayor of Easttown, this is not going to be an action-packed show, despite the picture behind me where these guys are kind of running with guns, right?
Hmm.
It is going to be it's going to be a drama, a thinking man's drama, and all that, but it will have a little bit of action and gunplay and stuff in there. But it's definitely a grounded crime drama. So, um, yeah, yeah. So give it a watch and enjoy. And with that, we can move on. Why don't you Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, because we're still talking about things that were probably pretty enjoyable.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a book based on a book that was written by Judy Blume, which I believe was written in the 60s, maybe even the 70s.
Hmm.
And this is a book that my mom talked about when I was younger. And I never read the book, but when the movie came out, I know she was super excited since she was really enthusiastic about it. And she mentioned that there was a lot that was quoted throughout her childhood from this book. So I know her and my dad would watch it from time to time, and they would say, Lauren, come on, you got to watch it. And I eventually did a few weeks ago when I was home. Or actually, no, no, no. I think I saw a few scenes when I was home, and then I watched it on Peacock, but it's actually brand new, being released as of, I think, a few weeks ago on Netflix. So you can now catch it on Netflix if you have a Netflix subscription. So it has a pretty good cast. They have, well, it stars Rachel McAdams, who plays the mom,
Hmm.
Barbara, and there's also Kathy Bates, who plays her, the girl, Margaret's grandmother, paternal grandmother. And then I wasn't sure who her father was played by. He didn't seem too familiar. But anywho, it's about this girl named Margaret who is going to middle school. Figure she's like, I don't know, maybe 11 years old, about 11 years old. And her and her family, after she comes back from summer camp, her mom, played by Rachel McAdams, says, we're going to be moving now or within the next couple of days just from New York City to the suburbs of New Jersey. And Margaret's like, "What do you mean? Like, I don't want to move. It's hard enough for a kid to start middle school and with all of the raging hormones and stuff. This is like a very interesting time to make any type of change and to adapt." So she's kind of pissed off about it initially. So she moves with her mom and dad to New Jersey, not too far, suburbs outside of New York City, and she leaves behind like her grandmother, who she's very close with, played by Kathy Bates. And you come to find that Margaret comes from a family with, or she was brought up with no religion, but mother was born Christian and father was born Jewish. And she never really grew up with religion because it's something that her parents never, I think, felt the need to go through with her because of their own experience with religion. So she arrives to this new environment. She meets, I don't know, within the first couple days of moving to New Jersey, a friend who lives like down the street who happens to be her age. And I think that the girl's name is, the actress name is Elle Graham, and she plays Nancy. And she happens to be in her class, so that's cool. So Margaret gets to meet some new girlfriends that are around her age in the suburbs. And it's really like a coming of age story because when you're in middle school and you're a girl, so many changes are happening. You start to, I think, develop feelings for either maybe the same sex, opposite sex, but it's more engagement in terms of just talking to other people, your body's changing. So it really goes through a lot of that. And she becomes friends with the neighbor, Nancy, along with two other girls. So they're like a foursome. And they'll talk about, they make this little club like, oh, if you like somebody, like a boy, you have to tell us all who it is. And then this comes up, are you guys wearing a bra? No, you have to wear a bra. So then they all have to go wear a bra. And it talks a lot about just puberty and the changes of their body. And then they'll talk and say, you know, at one point they were like, when you get your period, you have to tell the group and then tell all the details, which is just really funny. And like some of it reminded me of me and my girlfriends because we would talk about that stuff when we were younger, maybe not as like much in a group setting, but it's definitely something that girls can relate to as they're in middle school. So she starts school and her English teacher wants her to write about something that I think I forgot what the prompt was, but it was essentially like write about something that you don't like or something like that, or something that is like a very strong position. And I remember he was asking her, or like they had to do like the first week or two, an icebreaker or intro to something about yourself. So he challenges her to write about religion and why she doesn't like religion and to kind of go with that, which leads her to ask her mom and her dad, like, why am I not like, why don't I like religion again? And why don't I understand like what religion is? And then question like, is there God and all these things? And you come to find that her mother came from a Christian family and completely disowned her when she married a Jewish man. And that's why like they didn't want to go that route. And the father, I think, felt like, I don't really need to continue this Jewish upbringing. So I think with Margaret defining like what am I, Jewish, Christian, and perhaps some confusion. I know a lot of friends that grow up, in an interfaith or a product of an interfaith marriage. And honestly, I think every family approaches it differently, whether they choose to bring them up experiencing and having exposure to both. But it seems like from this film, she didn't have exposure to anything. So when she goes to visit her grandmother one weekend in New York City, who's played by Kathy Bates, she says, Grandma, what, I know we do Broadway and all these fun things, but can I go to temple with you? And she's overjoyed. Yes, I want you to meet the rabbi and stuff. And what you come to find is that Margaret doesn't really feel connected to religion after going to temple or going to church. And it's almost like she goes through this internal dilemma of what do I identify as religiously? And does it matter? And is this something that I need to deal with as a product of being from an interfaith marriage? You come to find eventually Rachel McAdams' character, she reaches out to her parents for the first time in a very long time. And then she meets her grandparents for the first time in like 12, 13 years, who she has never met before. And that gets very confrontational, unfortunately. So I think it was a very good movie. It definitely brought a lot of laughs. I smiled throughout it. I think a combination of reasons. One, because I knew my mom was so um, this is an important movie to my mom and her childhood, knowing that it's a book that I don't know if she read the book, but it definitely is something that she enjoyed. Both my mom and my dad enjoyed the movie. And I think being someone who comes from the Jewish religion and seeing how this girl experienced it for the first time, I think I definitely had some feelings. And even just my reflection on just religion, even though I come from a family where both parents are Jewish, I think sometimes questioning my own faith, I think that's normal. Whether your parents come from the same religion or different religions, but even just as we grow up in a more secular world, if this is something that we want to continue with, I think it's a very normal thing to question, and you develop your identity as an adolescence. So I think these are very normal things that this girl is going through, and the movie, and I'm sure the book does too, beautifully will showcase some of these questions and challenges that someone, and particularly a young woman, will face during their preteen, early adolescent years. So I think it does a good job at displaying that and showing how friendships bloom and how some friendships are not as great as they seem and how some friends are not really the right people that you should be around and you navigate that as a young girl and how you can really find people that fill your cup. I think when you meet this girl Nancy, she's exciting, she is very extroverted, but Margaret picks up on a lot of flaws about this girl and how she lies and how she can be a bit deceptive. And she realizes, like, this is not someone I don't think I want to associate with and be friends with. So I think that also, too, is an important theme in just being able to trust your gut when it comes to people and forming friendships.
Yeah, it sounds like a good one, and I think you know, it's a classic book too. Like,
It is.
I mean, to be fair, I feel like everything Judy Blume ever wrote was considered a classic, but
Yeah.
yeah, it has been around for a long time. So,
Hmm.
um, it's crazy to me that, like, is this the first iteration of it as a movie? Like, it's never been made before?
I'm Googling it.
Because it would be wild to me if that was the case, because the subject matter is pretty universal. Like,
Right. And I'm sure there are movies with similar themes.
yeah, for sure.
Yes, here it says It's Me, Margaret, which was released April 2023. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't believe it's been made prior to this.
Wow.
Now, one thing I did read that was interesting, this is considered in some states or at least certain school districts on the book ban list,
Yeah, I'm
probably due
sure
to
it
due to
being,
themes of just questioning God, questioning religion, and talking about puberty.
yeah.
That's a no, two times a no-no. So I just thought that was funny. And I'm sure they wanted to make it as a statement too, to be like, okay, you want to ban us? Fine, we're going to make it a movie.
Yeah, exactly. I, yeah, I don't doubt that at all. It is funny. Like, there's no reason intelligently for this to be banned anywhere.
No,
Yeah, yeah, I feel like too, if anything, it probably, if you're of a faith, it probably helps you, I don't know, lean more into that. You know what I mean? Like,
possibly.
yeah, it at least makes you think more, and if you're inclined to that way, it probably opens you up to more of that world, right? Like, you
Mm-hmm.
would ask more questions, and if you are looking for those
Yep.
answers, you'd find them, and if you're not, then, you know,
Right.
so
Yeah. I thought it was very good. I can see it being more of a girls' movie, but I don't know. Both my parents enjoyed watching it. They had some laughs, and I enjoyed watching it too. I think more so knowing how much my parents appreciated it, I was able to really hold that and keep that with me while watching it and knowing. There's one scene that my mom used to say growing up. So there, this is in the book where the girls have to wear bras, right, for the
mhm.
first time. And they start doing exercises. And my mom used to say this to me growing up, like when I was young, how her and her friends used to do an exercise to try to make their breasts go bigger. And I used to get embarrassed when my mom would do it, like so embarrassed, Kevin. I'm like, Mom, don't do this in public. Like this is so embarrassing. But it's basically we must increase our bust. And it's like the stupid like
I've heard of that.
movement. You've heard of it? Yeah, it's
Yeah,
from this book slash movie. So they start doing it in the movie, and I'm like beat red, Kevin. I'm like, oh my God, they're doing it, they're doing it, they're doing it. And it's so funny. But throughout my childhood, my mom would like say this, how she and her young girlfriends, maybe middle school, early high school, would do these like stupid exercises. Sorry, Mom. But like these little exercises and where they're just like moving their arms and like it's stuff that like definitely doesn't work, but like whatever, right? Uh, just eat chia seeds. Or whatever's, yeah, there's several things like apparently like the Victoria's Secret models, if you do your research, they were told to eat. That helps
mhm.
increase just your cup size, whatever. But they my mom would always say that line, and I was just always like, don't do this in public, mom, or don't talk about this. This is so embarrassing, and they do it in the movie, and it just makes me think of like all the times when my mom would say that growing up, and very funny. So yeah, they do it almost like, and they chant it in this girl's room, and they're all four of them are doing this exercise, shall we say, right? But it's funny, very funny, and I think, yeah, Judy Blume and I don't know any of her other books, but she's known for writing for young girls and just things that I guess now would be considered, I don't want to say untasteful, but somewhat controversial, right? For
Hmm.
for more of the conservative viewpoint.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Did you happen to look at this thing on Rotten Tomatoes?
no,
99% from the critics, 94% from the audience.
it was good, Kevin.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not
Uh,
surprised. I really enjoyed it. And I think it's something that, again, mostly would be relatable to women, but maybe to boys too, and especially those who grew up in an interfaith home and realizing, but even myself who didn't grow up in an interfaith home, I mean, I think it's natural to question your religion and
mhm.
and just your stance on it. And if your teachings and things that you learn are real, or what can I take with me, or what do I like from my religion, whether it be related to just having that belief that there is a higher power, or whether it be just I like my faith because it brings me and my family together to have a meal, and it is, and this is more just for me, right? Like I, as someone who considers herself more secular, not religious, someone who when I think of my own faith, I think of my past, and I think of family tradition and being surrounded by family, and the warm feelings that I get when we eat challah, when we have matzo ball soup. I think of my grandparents who are no longer with us, that are with us in spirit at the dinner table,
Mhm.
at a Passover Seder. That's why I enjoy, or that's what I take and what I bring with me, and find most important when it comes to religion. The other piece is not necessarily, but again, it will vary from person to person. For me, it's more the tradition and thinking about memories and loved ones that I shared those with. So,
Cool. All
but
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely recommend it.
Yeah. It sounds, and to be fair, like if you look at the cast list for this thing, and like it's
Good
just,
cast too.
yeah, it had to be good. I mean, based on what it was based on, like a classic book. Then you bring in Rachel McAdams, who's always great. Kathy Bates, who's also, you're running with a great cast there. So,
Oh, by the
um,
way, because I know you're a Marvel superhero person, the main girl who plays Margaret, Abby Ryder Fortson, she's in Ant-Man.
okay, yeah.
So small
Yeah,
world, but
I think I think she's the daughter in the first Ant-Man.
and I think she was in that what is it, Ant-Man versus Wasp?
Yeah, Ant-Man and the Wasp, yeah.
Yep.
So cool. All right, well then I will move on. I just realized as you were talking and I was kind of looking up this one, that there's a theme for me this week, which is either A24 or HBO or both. Um,
Okay.
Bring Her Back was an A24 film. Once again, A24 showing that they do horror really well.
Mm-hmm.
Then I did Task, which is on HBO, and now Friendship, which is an A24 film on HBO.
Ooh, full
Uh,
circle.
yeah. I wish I had not taken the full circle. I did not like this movie. So this movie, what really like I have to be an outlier. Like I look at the ratings that it gets, they're relatively high. I think on Rotten Tomatoes, it's 80s, yeah, 87% from the critics, 73% from the audience. IMDb, it's a 6.8. And I mean, I don't even think I would give it a five. Like I just did not like this movie, and I think it's a weird setup because you've got this guy who's super, super, super awkward, and it almost feels like I was waiting for this movie to like kind of turn and you realize this is just like this guy's fever dream. Like this guy isn't really living this life at all, and it's just in his head. Um, and that is unfortunately not the case. But you've got this guy played by Tim Robinson, who is insanely awkward. Nobody likes him at work. Um, you get the feeling that his wife isn't totally crazy about him. Like she's played by Kate Mara, who is much prettier than him, anyways. Um, and like you just look at the difference in the two characters, and you're like, I wish they had explained how these two even got together because there is no way on this earth that these two got married and had a kid. Um, and it's just everything in this guy's life is weird. Like there's a scene where he's there with his daughter and his son comes in. His son's like 17, 18. Like his son's grown pretty much. And like he's talking to mom and he goes to leave and he kisses her on the mouth. And it's just like, it's like weird and like it's awkward. And even like Tim Robinson's character, so he's like, oh, he kisses you on the mouth. And it's just like awkward, but it's like his kid and her kid. Like he seems baffled by this thing that happened in front of him that I feel like wouldn't be a new occurrence. But anyways, he's super weird. Like he's just super awkward. Obviously doesn't have friends or know how to make friends. A package shows up at his door that is for the neighbor down the street. And so he takes down and drops it off, and the guy is played by Paul Rudd, and they have an interaction that is like kind of lights this character. So Craig is the character played by Tim Robinson, and Austin is Paul Rudd, and so they somehow he gets invited over to Austin's house for to hang out with him and his friends. And so they have this meeting where they all hang out and have a great time and he fits in well enough. And so he hangs out with them a few times, but he's always awkward, but he kind of sees this friendship between these like six guys, I think it is. And he really wants to be a part of that, even though he doesn't know how to be a part of that. And so like in that regard, it's almost endearing for as awkward as and just I think the problem that I have with this movie too is this guy is so weird and so awkward, but he's also just unlikable. So like I can't get behind his character. Paul Rudd's character is kind of he's sort of pompous. He really likes himself. He was the nighttime weatherman who just got promoted to the daytime weatherman. But like he comes across, especially in the beginning of the movie, as super cool. Like so, obviously Craig is looking up to this guy and just being like, "Oh, he's so awesome! Like this guy is everything I want to be." And he gives off the super like this bunch of false machismo, and um he takes Craig on an adventure. He calls it an adventure, and they basically go through. They find a sewer tunnel, and they go through the sewer tunnel, and they ultimately break into City Hall because Austin knows the back way in, and so they go up to the roof of City Hall and they have a cigarette, and it's like kind of this moment. And so, building, through all this, you can definitely see that Craig is falling in love is the wrong term, but like bromance, like he's just totally like, I want to be this guy. I want to be as cool as this guy, right? And then they have another hangout one time, and they decide that they're gonna box in their garage, right? Everybody's boxing. They put on pads and helmets and stuff, so it's relatively safe. Um, and like twice, Paul Rudd punches him in the face like really quick because Craig doesn't know what he's doing. Like he just doesn't get it, and so they're all just playing along, but he hits him in the face too hard a couple of times because he doesn't know how to block or defend himself. He's not athletic in any way, shape, or form. And so they're like, okay, maybe we should slow down or whatever. So Paul Rudd's just standing there, everybody's talking, and Craig just sucker punches him, just punches him in the face, and like knocks him down, almost knocks him out. And so the whole group is like, now pissed off at him because he just they thought it was everybody but Craig thought this thing was done, like they were going to stop. and then he goes knocks him out, and then he just gets super awkward in the situation, and he's like, I don't know if he's trying to be like, you can't even tell if the guy's trying to be funny or if he's just like awkward. Like he's like, oh well, I was bad. I got to punish myself, and he grabs a bar of soap and puts it in his mouth, like almost like he's like a 5 year old, and you're like, what? And it's just so awkward, and so they basically tell him, hey, nobody wants to hang out with you anymore. And so he spirals a little bit, and I don't even know how to properly describe this movie because it's just like the idea behind it is that like there's a toxicity to male relationships that can get out of control or that can be misconstrued because as we find out, Craig awkwardly shows up somehow at Paul Rudd's first day on the job as the daytime weatherman, which he's really excited about. And so there's this awkward interaction where Craig is there watching him, do his first warm up, and that's weird. But then we come to find out through interactions that Austin has with the people around him, that Paul Rudd's character in real life, like away from his friends, really isn't that cool. Like people are just kind of shitty to him. He's the bottom of the totem pole. Like he's actually not that important. Later on, we find out that he's like all this aura that he puts on. He even has to wear a toupee, like he's bald, like so, like he's putting on a front with his friends and everybody else, when in his real life, outside, away from his group of friends, he's not that cool, you know, and so there's this sort of toxicity there because he is falsely cool, and just I can't explain how weird it is because at one point we find out that Kate Mara's character, Tammy, Craig's wife, is always talking about how she works with or talks to her ex-boyfriend who is a firefighter. And eventually you meet this guy, and he is very charming, very handsome. Like he's a man, like where Craig is not. And you're just like, I don't even understand why in any situation she would be with this guy when she could be with that guy. And it's just so he's trying to like say like keep his wife interested, or he kind of wants to be Austin. So he's like, let's go on an adventure, and he takes her to the sewers to take her into City Hall, and she gets lost, and he loses her, and so he doesn't know what to do, so he goes home and just like leaves her out there, and so she's missing for like a day and a half. And it's just such an awkward movie, and it's the comedy is supposed to be in the awkwardness, but I don't think there was ever more than like two or three moments in the entire movie that I laughed. Like I just did not find this movie funny. I found it very awkward. He's all of the characters are very, very cringy. There's some moments that work, like, and they set up everything else, but I don't know. It's just for me, it was just kind of a bad film. Like there's nothing about it that was interesting. I didn't really like or associate with any of the characters. The relationships didn't make sense. Um, and again, I think we talked about it last week, where if the comedy is based on how cringeworthy it is, it's just to me, it's just not funny. Like you've got to have moments of genuine comedy if it's a comedy. And this trailer, if you watch the trailer for it, you can tell it's like cringy, like he's going to be really awkward with these guys, and then they're going to kick him out. And you almost get the feel from the trailer that it's going to turn into like this kind of crazy revenge film. Like it almost looks like it could turn into a horror drama film, and it doesn't even do that. Like it's just it doesn't to me doesn't deliver on anything that it was kind of advertised to be. And especially if you watch the trailer, like you know how they put over um, the reviewers' comments over the trailer, and they'll say this reviewer said X, and this, they're like funniest movie ever. I laughed so hard that, and I was just like, dude, I did not see that in this movie. So like for anybody watching this or for anybody listening to this, I'm super curious, um, you know what you thought of it, because if anybody liked this, I would like to know why? What made it entertaining for you? Whether maybe people do like this kind of comedy, and I mean, like I said, I have to be some kind of outlier because it's almost a 7 on IMDb, which is pretty solid. 80s, and 70s on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't get it. Maybe it's just maybe I'm just old, I don't know. But like these guys are older guys too, so
I
I
think sometimes just it doesn't hit your funny bone, right? Like last week I saw Splitsville, which
yeah.
supposed to be rom-com funny. There were people in the audience laughing. I didn't find it that funny. I thought it was kind of stupid. I don't think open marriage situations like this
Yeah.
are funny. So it could have just been something that you couldn't resonate with, which is nothing against you. It just wasn't your type of humor.
Yeah, I'm actually really curious. Like, part of me wishes I could have seen this in a theater with other people to see what they would have been laughing at,
Hmm.
right? Because at least then I could be like, okay, I just don't get this moment or this moment or this moment, and I don't have anybody to bounce that off of, right? Um,
Hmm.
but like, it's funny. I can see, like, I can hear in my head, I can hear Andrew watching this and just getting angry because it's not like because he already doesn't like really do comedy anyways.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. Maybe he'd get caught up in the Myers-Briggsness of it.
Ridiculousness.
No, no,
Or,
yeah, the Myers-Briggness. He, I think he would hate the cringeworthiness of it. Like he would be like, I would never associate with these people. Like
sure.
knowing Andrew and how he evaluates things. But if he were to look at it from the more psychological standpoint, maybe he'd be more interested in. I don't know. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, I just couldn't do it. It just didn't ever work for me. And like at no point did any of the relationships feel like they would even happen.
Yep.
And if it was funnier, like if it was sillier, I think it would work. Or if it was more serious, like if it was a little darker, like if it really kind of went into that like angry kind of way that it could have gone, I think it could have been better in both of those ways. But it just kind of sat in this weird, uncomfortable middle ground where, yeah, it was just uncomfortable the whole time. So.
Yeah.
But definitely, like, I'm really curious if anybody watching this has seen it or plans to see it, and ultimately see what people thought of it, because it just obviously wasn't for me. And like I said, that's okay. Like some things just don't land with some people, only land with others. Um, but I'm genuinely curious. So,
Yeah.
but all right, well, we can move on from my tirade against awkward comedy, and we can go to basically what Hallmark romance to finish this out with our dear friend and legend Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah, who's making a comeback, but through cheesy rom-coms for some reason that are holiday themed. I don't know, they seem to have like a Hallmark vibe, but then they're like more rom-com-esque. This is like the
Hmm.
second or third movie I've seen. Like she did one that was related to St. Patty's Day. She had another rom-com that was Christmas themed. And then this one, I was going through Netflix. I was like, I need something short and mindless yesterday after a long week of work. And this one came out, I guess, the end of last year, and it's called Our Little Secret. And it stars Lindsay Lohan and this guy Ian Harding, who's been in a few movies, and Kristen Chenoweth, who I think is really funny,
Yeah,
John
I love her.
Renetsky. Yeah. So uh, takes place initially, I guess, early 2000s, the teens perhaps, where Lindsay Lohan's character Avery was seriously dating a childhood friend who she had known for her whole childhood, and they grew up together. And the guy's name is Logan, played by Ian Harding. And you see, like, figure it's maybe, I don't know, 2010, 11, 12, 13, and they're dating and they're home for the holidays, and he wants to propose to her. And, she had lost her mom not too long ago, and she wants to go away and move to London, and he's kind of taken back by this, and they're kind of having a fight that evening. He's drank more than she'd like him to. And at this party, it's sort of like a going away party, but it's a surprise. A lot of people are there, and it's a Christmas party, and he wants to be with her, and she says that we can't do this. And at that point, they break up and she goes to England. And then about 10 years later, she's back. She's living back in the US and she sees her dad and he's in the process of selling their home. It seems like he's got a new wife, girlfriend, and they're going away for the holidays. And at this point, 10 years later, she works in business. She had gotten her MBA, I believe, in London. And Logan, 10 years later, he's I think an architect. He works for this boss and he's really trying to make more money and get bigger projects. Anyway, they're both going to Christmas with their significant others and they're both like sort of newer relationships. Lindsay Lohan is her character is dating this guy Cameron, who's played by John Radnetsky, who was originally on SNL. He's been in a couple of funny rom-com-esque type of movies like Home Again in 2017, which is with Reese Witherspoon when she is interested in like there are these three younger guys that live in her home, but anyway, it's cute. And he plays the the newer boyfriend of Lindsay Lohan's character Avery 10 years later, and Logan is in a new relationship with Cassie, this girl who's a little bit younger than her, and they go to do the holiday things and before they go to Cassie and Cameron's home, you come to find that Cameron and Cassie, their significant others, are siblings. So it's funny because now Avery and Logan, who were in a relationship and dating and lifelong or like longtime friends before they were in a relationship that went sour 10 years ago, they're now dating siblings. So you don't know that until they both show up at this house, and the mother of these two siblings that they are dating at this point is played by Kristen Chenoweth, who's just kind of like a nasty, like very uptight woman. And they come from money. So Lindsay Lohan shows up and she's in jeans, and immediately, like Kristen Chenoweth's like, "Oh, this isn't really like why are you wearing jeans? This isn't a jeans type of event." Just you could tell she's very protective over her son and is not really approving of any woman that she brings home. And then the daughter, Cassie, brings home Logan, who's like really handsome. So they have this like party and they're going to be spending the weekend together as a big family. And they show up, and of course, as they're introducing one another, just like, holy crap, like 10 years. And she's like, "Oh, this is Logan. Hi." And at this point, then they go into the bathroom. They're like, "Do not ruin this for me." And he's like, "Why can't we just tell him?" She's like, "Because I don't want to, I'm already on like starting off on the wrong foot with his mother. The last thing I need to do is say that we dated over 10 years ago and we were a thing. We don't need to go there, so tell nobody." So they pretty much have to go this entire weekend masking their feelings for one another. And as I'm sure as you can guess, they start rekindling their feelings after being away for 10 years. So it was sweet, kind of cheesy, you know, lends the holidays, and you come to find their new partners are really not good fits for them. Shocker.
Yeah, this sounds very like I've always said because my wife's aunt loves loves Hallmark Channel, loves the holiday films. She's a Christmas person. She loves
Yeah.
Christmas in July when it comes on the Hallmark Channel, like loves this stuff. And she used to get so mad at me because when you start watching these, you only got to watch a couple and you realize there really is like almost a down to the minute formula about these movies.
Yep.
Like
Uh-huh.
this happens about 15 minutes in, half an hour in. This happens. There's always like the breakup with
The
about
10,
20
yeah.
minute to go, and then right at the end, obviously
They make up.
they make up
Ah,
and everything ends
yay.
happily ever after. Yeah. So like
Shocker.
so like part of me really wants to watch this and see like if this follows that exact same formula because it feels like it does, but I feel like
You can make a bingo card with it, and it's like, yep, got into
y-
a fight. Yep. Has past feelings. Yep. Happy at the end.
for
Check,
sure.
check, check, check.
And I think it's such a corny thing. And you watch these movies and you look at the ratings on almost all of them, they're always low,
They suck.
but they're always going to get the watches because people still, at the end of the day, they have a happy ending. They're never too serious. They're never too funny. They're never,
Yeah.
whatever. So, yes, they're formulaic, but the formula works for a reason. Like people watch these despite the fact that they're not great, and the people that watch it's like people that read like smut novels and romance novels and things like that. It's not that they're the greatest stories in the world. It's that
Hmm.
they kind of scratch this itch that people have, and that's fine. Like, and so yeah, maybe it's not the best movie. Maybe it's not the best performance by anybody in the movie, but the people that do like this kind of movie really love it.
Yeah,
So, like, I think I looked it up on Rotten Tomatoes, and the critic score is like
37.
30. Yeah,
Cool.
it's terrible from the critics, but this isn't made for critics, right?
No.
This is made for a very, very, very specific audience that
Yep.
would enjoy this movie. And so, like, it's like, was it? I think Meghan Markle did a bunch of these before, in the past, and
Glenn
it's
Powell was in
yeah,
one with
yeah,
is it Zoe Deutsch? There was
hmm
one that he was in where he played this like young intern for Tay Diggs' character. I'm trying to think. Oh, it's
mm,
called this Set It Up. Pete
hmm
Davidson has a small role in it. It's silly. It's like one of the, and it's on Netflix. Shocker. It's one of these like Netflix stupid rom-com movies that never actually show up in
yeah.
theaters. But yeah, it is what it is. They're never like really great. Although actually that got a good rating, got a 92%, which I'm kind of shocked by. But it's similar formula, like you said, in cadence from start
Yeah.
to finish.
Well, and there's a lot of people that have made great careers out of doing these films over and over again. You look at like Lacey Chabert from Party of Five. She's done
Hmm.
like a billion of these. And if you find your niche, you make a good little chunk of money doing each movie. They get
Right.
enough watches, and you move on to the next one. And
And I
I
think for like Lindsay, this is like her lane because she's a mom now. She's
mhm.
made enough money from what she did in the early 2000s. Let her make a movie that's how like holiday themed once a year. Give her a little bit of a paycheck and let her enjoy her family and good for her comeback and doing things
Yeah.
again.
Did she make any? Did that movie the new Freaky Friday movie? Did that make any kind of money?
I
I
didn't even
can't
bother seeing
remember.
it.
Yeah, I didn't either, obviously, but um, I wonder really quick. Freakier Friday, right?
Yeah, it's called Freakier for. I'll probably catch it like when it comes to streaming just for
Sure,
the heck
because
of
the
it.
original wasn't that bad. I mean, it made 145 million worldwide, so that's
Yeah.
actually not too bad, especially for the kind of movie it was. I would imagine the budget wasn't too high. Um,
Yeah.
and so
92% Freakier Friday from the audience at 74% from the audience. I'm sorry, from the critics. Not bad, considering.
yeah, yeah, I think you know, she could parlay that into some better roles again if she wants to, but I could, like you said, I could totally see her just being like, okay, I'll do these films and go be a mom most of the time and make a
Yeah,
little
why
money the
not?
rest of the time and just be content to make a good income doing something that she's
Mm-hmm.
done her whole life and have a good time. So
Yep.
yeah, like I said, it's probably not great. She'll probably be in a bunch more that probably aren't that great. Um, but
Yeah.
looking at Freakier Friday, you do have that opportunity that maybe she will get because she had kind of been out of the public eye for a long time. She hadn't done
Yeah.
a lot for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And so, good on her. If she decides to get back into it and it works and she starts making money off of this, then gets her name back out there and does some big stuff, that'd be great for her. I think that's cool. But if not, it's hopefully she's happy and everybody around her is happy with the work she's doing and everybody has a good time. Cool. You don't have anything else, right? Those were your big three.
Yeah, those are my big three. I thought it was cute. I didn't hate it. I just was like, it's not something I normally watch. It's more just like I can't think right now, and I'm gonna fold some laundry and watch something that's like very mindless. And I think
Hmm
this was like, I mean, Christmas is a very happy holiday,
Yeah.
and why not see Lindsay Lohan with her comeback and
Yeah.
support her with her comeback by watching a cheesy love story on Netflix. So go her.
Yeah. Yeah. To be fair, like sometimes you just need to scratch that itch. Like
Yeah.
I, like I said, I watched a horror movie and then I was like, dude, I really need to lighten things up. Right. And I went
Hmm.
to my go-to show for lighten things up. And, um, it it's fine. Some things really do serve a purpose, and that doesn't necessarily mean they're great, but they do what they need to do. So,
Exactly.
um, yeah. So cool. Well, I don't have anything else. I know Andrew is probably back next week.
Yep.
So there's a couple of things we'll probably focus on next week. Alien Earth, we'll get caught up on that one. Um, I know he got caught up today on that. And then I don't think I'll finish Ozark by next week because I'm still kind of far behind on that. But yeah, that I don't know if anything else is coming out this week. Um,
The Emmys are tomorrow night, by the way.
oh, that's right. That's right. Those are tomorrow.
That
So
will help me brainstorm what I want to watch
right.
next show wise. I'm seeing the movie Twinless on Wednesday, which is the new Dylan O'Brien film about
Hmm.
a support group for those that have lost their twin.
Oh, okay.
So it got a pretty good rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It's like in the 90s.
Oh, wow.
So I'm seeing that. And then the following week, I'm seeing The Long Walk, which I'm really excited about because I've heard nothing but good things about it.
Yeah, I've only seen good things. I think Andrew said was he seeing it today?
He's seeing it tonight. Yeah. I don't want him to
Yeah.
tell me anything though.
Yeah, I wanna I might try and see it next weekend, depending on what my middle son's doing. He'll want to see it. I don't think my other two will want to see it, but he might want to see it with me. Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, I'm excited about that one. That, like you said, has been getting great reviews, and it's
Yeah.
definitely an interesting,
Concept.
yeah, an interesting story. So definitely should be a lot of fun too. Oh, I don't know about a lot of fun. It's not the most uplifting of
It
stories.
will be entertaining.
Exactly. But yeah, and then yeah, we'll see what else. I'll have to find a horror movie to watch in the next week. So hopefully something that feels at least relatively new and interesting. There was a couple out there that I was eyeing, and I can't remember what they were, but relatively new. And I think sometime in the next week or two, 28 Years Later is coming to streaming. So
Okay.
I'll watch that one when that one comes out. Uh, but yeah, yeah, we're getting into, and TV shows are starting to come back for the fall season. So
Yeah.
hopefully we'll have more and more stuff to watch. And we know uh, from a few weeks ago, we looked at that list of movies that are coming out in the last quarter of 2025, and there's way more than I thought there were. So
Yeah.
that'll be a good time too. So lots of stuff coming.
Yep. Definitely.
So cool. Well, with that, then I will say thank you to everybody for watching. Thank you for listening. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.